Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the January 25th, 2024 Regional Advisory Council. Glad to see so many members here in the room. We'll go through and call roll this morning and then do introductions. We'll start with RAC members in the room. And Madam Chair, I can see at a glance that we do have a quorum.
Yes.
And so if we'll just start, my name is Jody Barker, Director of the Area Agency on Aging, and we'll just continue moving around the table.
I'm Marilyn Massey from Colorado Springs, and I'm Chair of the committee.
Melissa Martz with the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging.
Maria Cordova with the Independence Center and Membership Subcommittee Chair.
Wrong one. Joanne Ruth, Colorado Springs.
Good.
That one, right. I saw the red light. I thought it was already on. Debbie Levin-Stankiewicz, Vice Chair, Colorado Springs.
Jim Woodard, Teller County.
Laura Cronick, Town of Monument.
Good morning, Melody Hanna, Pikes Peak AAA.
Thank you. And in the room, we have staff member Kent Matthews and Laura Cruz, as well as Jason DeBueno from Silver Key. Jared, would you mind helping me with calling board members first?
I'd be happy to.
Online?
Yes. So we'll go Eric Bidwell.
Good morning, Eric Bidwell with the Department of Human Services here in Colorado Springs, El Paso County.
Thank you. Mary Kopp. You're muted, Mary. We can see you.
Okay, we have Mary Kopp with us this morning, representing Fountain.
El Paso County.
Excuse me, El Paso County. Thank you.
Jen Nemo.
Good morning, Jen Denimo, Colorado Community Health Alliance.
And Rosemary Jaramillo.
Good morning, Rosemary Jaramillo with the Alzheimer's Association.
And then just for the awareness of the committee, we do have a member who was appointed by the city of Fountain, is not a voting member yet because it has to be approved by the board directors at the February meeting. We can introduce him now, if that's okay. Okay, so Mayor Pro Tem Gordon Rick.
Yes, Gordon Rick, City of Fountain. Thank you for allowing me to attend as a guest today.
Thank you. And that's everyone who is a voting member of RAC or a soon to be voting member of RAC who is online.
Great. Thank you very much, Jared. Madam Chair, as we move into number 2 for the agenda approval, I would like to request an adjustment to the timing. I will be leaving. I have to leave early. I'll be testifying in support of Senate Bill 24-40. That is an increase to senior fund for, or excuse me, the state fund for senior services. And I am on the list to testify for that. And so, Madam Chair, if I may, I would like to request moving my AAA director's report up to the between numbers 4 and 5, between public comments and action items.
Thank you. Let's go forward then and approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Debbie, thank you. And a second, Bill?
Or how about Jim?
Jim, I'm sorry. I've always called you Bill.
Father-in-law called.
Let's see. Do we have any discussion on it at all? Guess not.
Oh,
All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Aye. Aye. Thank you. Let's move forward to approving the minutes from last meeting. And I need a motion to approve them.
So moved.
This Jim.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Thank you. Motion carries. Any public comments?
Yes, Madam Chair, I've asked Kent Matthews to share a request to the board this morning. Jared, did we have any additional online or otherwise?
I'll use this opportunity for anyone who's online, who is not a member of the RAC. If you'd like to provide a public comment, please use the raise hand function in Microsoft Teams. While we're doing that, and before we go to in-person public comment, I will just say that we did not receive any other advanced requests for public comment, and we did not receive any written public comment that we would have submitted to the members of the RAC before the meeting. And I see no hands raised, but I will let you know if that changes after we do the in-person comment.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity to present my request. I oversee the Family Caregiver Support Center here at the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging, and we are doing for the second time a caregiver simulation. And we will be doing that on Tuesday, February 27th. And we are doing the simulation for the public, for the nursing students, their public health cohort at Bethel College, UCCS. And the reason for the request is for the simulation, I need volunteers. I need about 20 volunteers to help make the simulation work. 11 of the volunteers are going to be representing agencies, and then the other 7 to 8 volunteers will be doing odd jobs to make the simulation work. The whole purpose for the simulation is to raise the awareness of the daily struggles and frustrations that family caregivers face while trying to navigate the social service system for resources to support them in their caregiving. And it is a very realistic simulation. It was developed by the Alabama Lifespan Respite Coalition. And the first time we did it and the first time I experienced it, it does capture very well the frustrations that caregivers face in terms of trying to get services. I do have a handout that I'd like to give to you that you could take if you know of persons that would love to volunteer to help raise the awareness of what family caregiving is really like. Have them get a hold of me, and I'd be happy to get them down as volunteers. Any questions?
Would you repeat the date? Was it the 27th?
27th of February, and it'll be in the morning, like from 8:30 to probably about noon. And before the simulation starts, we will do an orientation briefing for the volunteers so they will know what to do and not how to do it. Meaning their role is not going to be to try to solve the problem for the caregivers. Their role is to be a typical, I'm not sure, and I hate to say it that way, but caregivers get a lot of misinformation in the community about services and whatnot, and this simulation replicates that.
Thank
you.
Joe, turn on your microphone.
Will this be at UCCS?
Yes, it'll be in the Berg Auditorium, which is their big main auditorium. And I'll give all the, where to be, when to be, all that information to anybody who wants to volunteer.
As well as parking?
Yeah, I'm going to work out the parking as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Don't go anywhere. We have a comment.
The question from Mary online.
Am I unmuted now?
No.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Yes, you are
Okay,
unmuted.
okay.
We can hear you.
I am very interested in participating in that, and I'm not sure how to tell you that because I'm not there.
You just told me.
Okay. Yeah, I would be very interested in helping in whatever way I can.
Okay, and Mary, what I'll do is I'll get your contact information from Jody or Melissa. Okay.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
You bet.
Kit, I also would be interested.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to start these at the table. There's more than enough just in the center. Just leave them on a table someplace.
Can you get that information out to us who are watching from home?
Yes. And to Jared, and then he'll make sure it gets out. Or, okay, I'll get it to Melissa and you'll get it.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, we have some action items. Okay, you may.
Yes, thank you. All right. Good morning, everyone. Jody here again. As I mentioned, I'll be heading up to Denver this morning as part of our advocacy efforts for this increase in funding to senior services. So when you hear us talk about either state fund for senior services or the Older Coloradans Act, those terms are used interchangeably. The act is the legislative act that put this into place in 1974. The state fund for senior services terminology is the budget line that covers the services from the state budget for our services, both internally as well as our contracted providers. So at this time, I wanted to share a little bit of update around our advocacy efforts. Back in December, starting early in December, we took this interested increase in funding to the PPACG Board of Directors. At the time, we thought there may be an opportunity to participate in the JBC and Colorado Department of Human Services budget presentation. We received a unanimous support from the PPACG Board of Directors to testify or provide public input. At that time, that was not a public input. We found out later, not a public input opportunity. But mid-December, there was a follow-up meeting, and the JBC, or Joint Budget Committee, members did express to the Colorado Department of Human Services staff member who was presenting and answering some questions around State Unit on Aging and AAA services. They were quite adamant that they understand the shortfalls that we're experiencing across the state between the funding and the actual services needed for our older adults. They were quite adamant to that staff member that if they did not come back with a number, that they would create a number and make sure that the state funding for senior services was increased. Very exciting. I was in my room, in my office, listening to that Joint Budget Committee hearing. Very excited to hear that positive approach to increasing the funding for senior services. So you may recall some information I shared several months ago, that there was a collaborative effort across the state. We invited our providers to engage with us. We also got approval from our board of directors to sign on to a letter that went to the governor's office that had a three-point increase in funding in that letter. While that letter was not responded by the governor's office, and it was not included in the governor's budget recommendations, Senator Jesse Danielson from Jefferson County did pick up that information and wrote Senate Bill 24-040, for which I'll be testifying today. In that Senate bill really holds three key parts. First is a $5 million increase to the state funding for senior services in this upcoming state fiscal year. That's a one-time ask. It really is nowhere near what we need across the state to supplement the services that we're doing right now, but it is a good start. There are only about 25 million this year in discretionary funding. So the fact that we're asking for a fifth of that is already a big ask. So we felt across the network not to go too big too fast, as it were. So we felt 5 million was a good number to start with. The second part of that legislation or of that bill is an annual increase based on inflation. There are tiny increases at the state level and with the state fund for senior services, but nowhere near comparable to inflation every year. So that's the second part of the ask. The third part of the ask within the bill is a triennial review. So every 3 years, the folks from the State Budget Committee, folks from the State Unit on Aging and CDHS, and representatives of AAAs will get together every 3 years and review the adequacy of the funding for the state fund for senior services and report back to the legislature on the adequacy of the funding with the underlying goal to continue increasing the fund for senior services across the state. So that's the three parts of the bill. It's important to understand, too, that at the same time that the bill is in process, the JBC has requested this funding amount from the Colorado Department of Human Services, who oversees the State Unit on Aging, who are our state administrators. The JBC could select a number, and that might be knocked off of the bill. Part or whole of the bill could be rejected entirely, voted against, or bits and parts of the bill could be selected to continue through the process. It remains to be seen what that's going to look like. Last Thursday, I had the opportunity to participate in the Legislative Caucus on Aging, sponsored by Senator Janal and Representative Young. Also, there were 3 additional legislators who joined us in person there at the Capitol. That was our representatives here from our area, Representative V. Hill, Senator Liston, as well as the author of this bill, Senator Jesse Danielson. So all 5 legislators were right there in the room with us. There were presentations from AAA directors as well as legislative support staff. I was really grateful to have the opportunity not just to present to the legislators about some of the funding shortfalls that we're experiencing here in Region 4, but then I also got to speak with each of them individually afterwards. After the Legislative Caucus on Aging, I was able to spend some time at the Capitol and meet with 4 more legislators. One in particular represents Park County. That's Senator McCluskey. She's Speaker of the House this legislative session, as well as 3 additional legislators from El Paso County. So just really excited about the advocacy efforts that we're able to do right now, especially as it relates to this very specific bill and the increase for funding for senior services. So that will be the rest of my day. I'm really excited to be able to do that. We'll have several AAA directors along with several providers who have signed up to testify. So more to come on that. I would invite you that if you are ever interested in testifying or participating or just coming to the Capitol with me and hanging out, you would be most welcome. I would love to have you. There's plenty of room in my truck, as most of you well know, that have ridden with me. We've got plenty of room, and I love a good road trip. So really look forward to that opportunity if you would like to join me. Also, the idea of testifying before a Senate hearing committee can be a little daunting if you've never done it before. And so I've already had a wonderful request from one of our, actually Penny from Park County Senior Coalition to say, teach me, how do I do this? And she has signed up to testify today. I'm really excited that she's jumping in with both feet to share the story. So I will say that a big part of our presentation and request to the PPACG Board of Directors did include several service providers who came and shared about the challenges that they're facing right now with funding and the imbalance between available funding and the needs that are out there. And so we had some great testimony in that area as well. So that's a big part of my day, and so I really look forward to doing more around that. The other is if you did not see the email we shared out yesterday as well as our quarterly provider meeting that Melody here in the room, Melody Hanna, our contracts administrator, has been promoted to associate director. And so I'm really pleased with that. And yeah, thank you. Round of applause for her. Very good. And so just really pleased with that. She has certainly shown that she's up for the challenge. So that's really great. We did have we had a listening session for those of you who weren't able to join us at the quarterly provider meeting yesterday. First half was kind of a listening session. We've made a lot of changes over the last 2 or 3 years in our contracting process and our communications. 2 years ago, we started taking on 100% of the cost and administrative burden for I just drew a blank. Yes, our survey process that happens about this time every year, and just looking for ways that we can help support our providers by helping them, letting them focus on the services out to the community. And so we had a good conversation yesterday, and along with a variety of updates. At this time, I would like to cede a portion of my time in director's report to Melody to provide an update around the TRS process, as well as a little more detail around the survey process.
Thank you, Jody. So starting with our RFP process, our team is working closely with the Technical Review Subcommittee, which will be meeting next week on February 1st to review the applications that we received, which will go over all of the narrative content, the services, and the dollar amounts. So we received 20 proposals. 3 of those were from new organizations. So really excited to review those as part of the bigger group. After that, the transportation recommendations, so requests for transportation funds, will be reviewed by the Transportation Advisory Committee here. That will happen on February 15th. And then the AAA funding recommendations, those will be reviewed by the Greater RAC on February 22nd. So our next meeting of RAC. The Board of Directors is opening up a 30-day public comment period starting on March 13th, 2024. So that's part of our usual as business, receiving public comment if anybody wants to comment on the applications themselves. After that, the Regional Advisory Committee will review any public comments received and then make final recommendations for AAA funding. That will happen on April 25th. And then comments and recommendations for approval by the PPACG Board of Directors will happen on May the 8th. So our goal with all of this is to have contracts signed and executed by July the 1st so that providers can start receiving their reimbursements right away for their activities in July. Any questions? Okay, going to keep moving forward with all of that. Big lift. So surveys. Our team, as Jody mentioned, has taken on the administrative burden and sending out for that. And so each year, as part of our contract with the State Unit on Aging, we are required to send out performance measure surveys. This might sound familiar to some of you who have been on the rack for a bit. So each year, we send out surveys to 100% of our registered clients in our data system. We're required by the state to send it out to 50%, but we want a higher response rate. So we go with 100%. Some of our providers help us with reaching out to the clients as well, which is great. But those questions are around their satisfaction with services, if they're aware that they can contact the AAA, really detailed questions about transportation, nutrition, all of the services that are require that we register our clients. So we send that out in February and March, receive those back. We do all the data entry. We've got a great team of volunteers that help us with that. So we get our data entered by May 15th, and then we turn around and provide that to the providers as well. So we're graded on that as part of our contractual requirements. There is one question. We need to have 90% or above satisfaction, and that is overall, how satisfied are you with the services from this particular provider? So the great thing is we have good support from the state for the data entry. So in the past, a lot of that we couldn't get very granular on it. And so now we can. They just keep making improvements, which is awesome, to the survey process. And then we also have opportunity to add our own local questions. So all of the other questions are determined by the state, but we can, and the providers can, if they would like to add additional questions. So this year, Laura Cruz, who is our mobility manager, she is working with other stakeholders on a transportation survey questions. So we have some additional ones for that for El Paso and Woodland Park. Okay, so we'll be moving forward with that over the next couple of months. So another big project. Thank you. Any questions on that though?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll report back to when those are available. So probably for our June or July meeting, that'll be an agenda item to present on the results.
I'll just add one question. If I remember correctly, at least the years that I've been here in the past, you've been well above 90%, right?
That's correct. Yes, our providers do an excellent job. Yeah, some of the areas that we could improve are around outreach and awareness of the AAA. So that's something we'll be working on over the next year.
And to that, we did receive approval last year to use some of our funding for those outreach efforts. And so very excited to be able to continue those again this year. Last year was a big change and kind of had to, by the time we got the approval, which had never been part of the funding allowance before, we were able to do that, but really excited for what that's going to look like through 2024. So thank you, Melody. The last thing that I wanted to share is that I'm going to borrow yours, Madam Chair. You can see this on camera, this big, thick book. This is the 4-year plan. It is in print. Those members here in the room received a copy today. For members of the board who are not here in the room, I do have your name. Next time you're nearby, or if we happen to cross paths at a meeting, please let me know. We'll make sure you get a copy. For any providers who are online with us, Jason is the first provider to get his in person. And so we want to make sure that all providers, we printed enough that our current providers could have one copy, a print copy in person. If you don't need a printed copy, that's okay. It is online and available for you to look at, but so many of us still like to have the paper and make notes and whatever. But we do have a copy reserved for both members and providers. So please get with us as you're nearby. We have those now to distribute. So Madam Chair, I think that's it. I'm going to hang out for a few minutes and then I'm going to run. Okay, thank you very much.
Is this a solo trip?
Unless any of you want to come with me, it's a solo trip today. Yeah.
Under the action items, we want to we want to introduce this. Sorry, main brain went dead. We want to introduce the chairman of the different committees that are on. And Maria has been on the council for some time, but she's accepted the responsibility of the membership committee, and that's a big one. And we're really grateful that you have volunteered to be that, because I know you'll do a good job. And Debbie, who is the vice chair of the committee, is going to be in charge of the technical review subcommittee, and that is meeting next Monday.
They're going to meet on Thursday.
Hmm?
They're going to meet on Thursday. The technical review subcommittee.
Okay. Okay.
And then the last one is strategic review subcommittee.
Yeah.
It's Laura.
Laura? Oh, that Laura.
Yeah, my staff member just, my staff
I
member.
did.
Laura
I
just
thought
had
it was a
panic
staff
moment.
member. Oh, well, we'll accept you very welcome. Okay. We also
If I
have.
may, I'll add just for clarification for the notes, the chair chair positions are appointed by the chair of the Regional Advisory Council. So while it is under an action item, it is an appointment based on those discussions and volunteering, and that final appointment from our chair of the Regional Advisory Council. So there's no voting that needs to take place. So just wanted to
Very good.
zip that up if you don't mind.
It's Kimber.
So I'll go ahead and jump in here for a second. Before I make a comment about presentations, I'm going to take a minute to this ties in with the strategic review subcommittee that Laura Cronick is now going to be chairing. Jen Nimmo is on the call, I believe, and she has been the long-term kind of chair of that committee since it started. She was part of the 4-year plan when it happened 2 times ago. So she's been with us for quite a while. And her term on the RAC is officially over at this time. However, she is staying on to coach Laura through the beginning stages of the strategic review subcommittee for the next year. I did bring with me today a special gift for Jen that I'll track her down and give to her. And so we have a card here if anyone wants to sign it before they leave today. But I did get her a little special cup that is hand painted and it says "Shine On." And it's hard to see it for sure, as Jody was just showing our 4-year plan. But so Jen, thank you. And I don't know if you want to share a few words, but again, officially Jen is not on the RAC. Her term is over, so she doesn't get to vote anymore. But she is here in attendance and probably will be for quite a while, and then working with Laura on the strategic review subcommittee. And so Jen, any comments that you want to share, or anyone else want to share comments about Jen and her service over the last 6 years?
Well, thank you, Melissa. I'm very touched. I truly appreciate it. It's been an honor to be able to serve as long as I have, and hopefully we'll be able to do so again after my little brief vacation of not being on the board, and appreciate the opportunity to work with Laura and help her as she steps into this new role. I'm excited for the energy and just overall experience and knowledge that Laura's going to bring to the strategic review subcommittee. So I've always enjoyed doing this work and will continue to enjoy doing it in our community, even though I can't vote. But thank you so much for your thoughtfulness. It means a lot to me.
thank you for all that you've done, and particularly to me, the 4-year plan was an absolute humongous responsibility. And so we appreciate all the services you've given to the Area Agency on Aging. Does it comment?
Yes. Jen, I wanted to say thank you for your enormous depth of information that you've brought to us. We are certainly the beneficiaries of your hard work, but particularly your dedication. So thank you so much. Thank you.
We've got a round of applause in the room.
Jen, this is Jody. Of course, I had the opportunity as a RAC member years ago to serve with you on the SRS, and just very grateful for the support and the continuity you brought to the SRS committee, as well as the 4-year plan. Someone who'd been part of the process in the previous plan, your experience, your knowledge of the community and the region really just spoke volumes into the current 4-year plan. And so that work is certainly appreciated. Your dedication to the Area Agency on Aging work, and in particular the Regional Advisory Council work, is much appreciated. So yes, we love that you're going to be available to support Laura as she steps into that chair position, and know that it won't be long before we'll get to see you again on a regular basis. I hope that's a promise, but we do look forward to having you back as a RAC member after the 1-year hiatus. So love the work that you do and your commitment to everything that you do. It's much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate it because every time I've asked you a question, you've had an answer. I remember leaving the meeting a couple months ago, and she was out in the parking lot, and so I sequestered her, and she answered several questions that I really needed to know the answer to. And so thank you, Jen.
You're
And-
very welcome.
And Madam Chair, I'm just going to continue to talk here for a few more minutes as well.
Okay.
Because the next kind of item on the agenda is a little bit about membership. But before that, I guess. So presentations, we do have a special presenter coming on at 11. There's a few things that I want to talk about before that, and then we might end up taking a 10-minute or so break. And so for the people in the room here, there's some snacks. For people online, I hope that you will stay on and come back on at 11. Our presentation at 11 is from the Pikes Peak Diversity Council. And we, as an executive committee, wanted to have some information kind of acknowledging and recognizing Black History Month as February coming up, and kind of just having a little conversation around diversity. And so the Pikes Peak Diversity Council is going to be on with us at 11. So again, I hope folks can stay on and tune in to that presentation. But before that, circling to membership, again, we talked a little bit about Jen and where Jen's role is headed. And I'm just jumping in because Maria is new and doesn't know all the details. But again, it was mentioned earlier that we have Mayor Pro Tem from the City of Fountain on the call today. We have received a formal letter from the City of Fountain appointing him. And so that will be discussed as a formal item at the February meeting and then going forward to the PPACG board. So stay tuned for that from a membership perspective. So Maria gets to jump in with both feet with an appointee that has come our way. So, and we appreciate Mayor Sharon Thompson, who is a member of the PPACG board, for always keeping an eye out on these openings and encouraging people to get on all of the different PPACG commissions and councils. So thank you for the City of Fountain for that. And I think those are my announcements that I had. I think there was one more, but I'm drawing a blank. So again, I now see it as I'm looking at Eric Bidwell, our RAC member. So somewhere on our agenda, we have dropped announcements from member entities, and I am hoping that I can pick on two of our RAC members to maybe share announcements. And so, Eric, I heard that there is a new staff person. Andrew Bunn mentioned something about a new position, well, a new hire at DHS. And I don't know if I can put you on the spot to give any updates at DHS on staffing and how things are going with you guys. And then I'll turn it over after you do an update. I'm going to pick on Rosemary. Thank you, Eric.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. No problem. So we had a little bit of kind of a variety of leadership changes at DHS over the last, I would say, probably 4 months or so. Some of you may know Chris Garvin is planning on retiring coming up very soon in sometime in March, I believe. He has been at the Department of Human Services here in El Paso County for, well, I don't know, probably 25 years, maybe, and then had quite a few years prior to that in another state. He's been a very kind of public figure for DHS and has been involved in a lot of overall local governmental things, as well as just kind of representing DHS in a lot of a variety of meetings at various levels. In his retirement, when that was announced, Andrew Bunn actually was promoted to that deputy executive director position about a month or so ago. And so there's going to be a pretty significant period of overlap where they have the opportunity to kind of train together. And then Andrew's position then as Director of Adult and Family Services was open and has been since filled by Jasenia Torres, who is a leader that has worked in the Colorado Works and Colorado Child Care Assistance Program area for about over 10 years. And she'll be moving into essentially what is the position that oversees myself and some of the other managers here at DHS. And then, as I said, Andrew had moved into the deputy executive position. So her current role in the Child Care Assistance Program and the Colorado Works Program is being posted right now and is in the process of kind of being refilled. So there's been a few changes just kind of overall within the department. I've had a lot of leadership changes even within my own area. Several supervisors have either retired or moved up. And so there's been a lot of movement and leadership kind of overall.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate that update. Does anybody have questions or comments? Because those are some pretty good, significant changes over there, and looking forward to all of that, and glad to still have you as part of our RAC. So thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Yeah. And then Rosemary, the reason that I'm putting you on the spot is I hope that I actually have in the room here today the little Alzheimer's walk flowers out. And so I wanted to give you an opportunity to share about the walk to end Alzheimer's.
Absolutely. I'm not sure if you can see me because I can't see it. So, but anyways, you'll need to see me. So very excited about our walk. Oh, that's why you can't see me. There you go. Very excited about our walk this year. We actually have it scheduled for September 28th. It's a Saturday. And I'm excited because last year we actually had a lot more vendors out there, people sharing information, lots of resources in the community. And that's important, right, for our families to be able to have access to resources. We raised a lot more money at that walk than we ever have. We actually exceeded our goal. And that money really does go to funding our education support groups, research, helpline, all that good stuff. And I think the most exciting thing is that with the research that we have today, we're that much closer to finding the first person with a cure. And it's just exciting information out there. We have never been this close in 120 years, so it's an exciting time at the association. But the walk is a lot of fun. If you haven't been out to the walk, come on out. Some people will say, well, I don't really, I can't really walk. Just hang out. Have a good time. We have a great DJ. And it's just really a great day to celebrate. And I think celebrations are important. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share.
Rosemary, would you give us a location of where the walk starts? Is it at your office?
No. It's at Memorial Park. It's by where the old pool house used to be, the swimming pool. And they actually walk around the lake, which is, I think it's just over a mile. And so around the lake, we have all kinds of activities. We have lots of exciting things happen. We have a great DJ, like I said, and we have some people coming up with some really great ideas. If they want to share their ideas on this call, I think that would be great. And just ideas for, people gathering and getting together and enjoying some time together. And I think that's probably the most important thing that we've learned in the past, 4 years, is that spending time and sharing time is probably more important than anything, right? But Melissa, if you want to share anything, you're welcome to.
Thanks, Rosemary. So for the last couple of years that I've been at the walk, I keep looking at that lake and saying, why do we not have paddle boarders on the lake? And so this year we will have paddle boarders on the lake. So we are in the process of figuring out how to make that happen. And so people can now walk, or they will be able to paddle as well.
I can paddle if I sit down.
Yep. So Marilyn will be paddling. And so that's an exciting part. It is always interesting. It's the fall. It's September, the end of September. Could be a little chilly on the lake, but for hardcore paddleboarders, that's not going to stop anybody. So, so kind of a neat change for going forward this year. So anyway, thanks, Rosemary.
No, thank you. It's so exciting. I think that's exciting. I have tried paddleboarding. Imagine a gazelle on stilettos on a paddleboard. That's me. So kudos to you for paddleboarding and getting out there. And not only are we coloring the park purple, now we're going to color the lake purple. And so it's very exciting. Thank you.
Can you give us that date again? September?
Yeah, it's September 28th. And registration starts at, I think it's 8:30. And then we just start jumping into programs. We have a program that we present. And then we, just do some other stuff, and then we walk. And it's usually over by noon. So you have your whole Saturday to go out there and enjoy the rest of the day.
Rosemary, this is Maria. Are you still looking for vendors to give out information?
Yes, we are. And the sooner people get that information into us, the sooner we can start promoting their sponsorship. And so that's important, because we want to give as much promotion to our community partners as we possibly can. So, and then last year it was actually kind of exciting because Teal came up with this brainstorm about this idea. Let's have a small vendor table. So it's for people who have really small businesses and don't have a lot of money. And so we're actually doubling that this year. And they renamed themselves as the Cool Club or the Cool Kids. They had a blast in that small business vendor tent. So, and we already have people going, okay, I need 2 tables in that in that. So it's an opportunity for everybody to participate, because we don't want people to not participate because of money. Also, it is probably the only walk that you can participate in and not have to pay to participate, because we want our families to come out and they're already strapped, right? They're already drained. And so we really want them to be able to come out and enjoy the day.
Thanks, Rosemary. And
Thank you.
it is a pretty wild and wonderful event, and I can see why last year broke records. So it's crazy.
Yes.
Yep. And so with that, we have about 7 minutes or so until the Pikes Peak Diversity Council member kind of signs on with us. So I am going to go ahead and have us take just a break here. And I, again, hope that people who are online will definitely stay online as well. And for those in the room, we'll come back when our Diversity Council person is here with us. So thanks, everybody.
For those in the room, there are some sweet treats and coffee, so please help yourself.
Welcome, Kimber. Thank you for joining us. I'm just going to get our group back together here and then I'll introduce you and look forward to talking a little bit more.
All right. Thank you much.
Yeah. All right. I think our room is settling in. Okay. So again, this is Melissa, and I am the program development admin for the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging, and here with the Regional Advisory Council for our Area Agency on Aging. And we wanted to invite Kimber and the Pikes Peak Diversity Council to share a little bit about the Pikes Peak Diversity Council, what they do, how they were formed, a little history there, as well as what you're doing. And we wanted to do that in recognition of February is Black History Month. And so we like to kind of raise awareness at the end of the month when we have our rack, if there are any special opportunities in the month ahead, since we won't see each other until the end of February, to be contemplating and thinking about communities of color, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so Kimber, thank you so much for joining us. And also Kimber works for CSU Extension as well and has a lot of experience and knowledge from that role too. But please, Kimber, share a little bit with us about the Pikes Peak Diversity Council. Thank you.
Hi, Melissa. Thank you so much for the invitation. Definitely very excited to be here today to speak on behalf of Pikes Peak Diversity Council and looking forward to letting you guys know a little bit more about what CSU Extension will be doing here in the future. For the month of February, we will be bringing in speakers from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's family. We haven't quite shored that up yet, but in making sure we bring the community together to recognize important history here for the Pikes Peak region. Pikes Peak Diversity Council did begin in 2005 under the moniker of Colorado Springs Diversity Forum. And we created that community so that we could bring the citizens together where everyone felt like they were welcome and they could see themselves in the broader picture and the scheme of things here in the Colorado Springs community. In 2016, we expanded our vision and we changed our name with that expansion of vision to Pikes Peak Diversity Council, Inc. And we wanted to reflect our reach throughout Pikes Peak region by stating our vision is to connect, to include, and to engage our citizens in our diversity and our rich cultures here within the community and the region as a whole. Pikes Peak Diversity Council does act to identify, cultivate and promote the shared vision for the community, to engage citizens in the diverse and rich culture that exists here in the region. And we believe that our healthy community requires us to be inclusive as far as building on the foundation of trust and respect for individuals as assets within the community. Some of the annual events that you've probably heard of are the Fannie Mae Duncan Everyone Welcome holiday gospel event that we do throughout the region. Of course, we've sponsored the MLK program, which we hosted last week, on the 15th. And we've worked with One Body Int. We've worked with the Pikes Peak Justice and Peace Commission so that we can continue to bring the diverse cultures together so that we have a holistic and an inclusive community as far as meeting the needs here in the Pikes Peak region.
Thank you, Kimber. Can you share just a little bit about the event that happened just last week at Colorado College, the All People Welcome Breakfast? Can you just talk a little bit more about that, please?
Yes, so even through the frigid freeze warning of January 15th, 2024, we did host our annual march, and our children were absolutely wonderful leading us in that. But as always, we began the day with the All People's Breakfast. And what that does is that brings leadership here in Colorado Springs together with the community so that we can have tabletop discussions about what action items can happen here in the community for us to continue the relevant work of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so that opportunity started with a few organizations years ago, about 10 to 15 years ago. We wanted to meet that need for that federal holiday. And Colorado College came in, they stepped up in a mighty way and became the great sponsor for the Pikes Peak region, for Colorado Springs, to host that event, beginning with the All People's Breakfast. This year in 2024, Colorado College stepped back so that the vision can expand beyond them. The community spoke in volumes, and Colorado College did listen to say, hey, this is a community event. It's not the event of the sponsor, Colorado College. And so they did step back, and Pikes Peak Diversity Council came in and helped us to form the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Legacy Preservation Society here in Colorado Springs. And so we took on this year's events, bringing in Mayor Mobilati, bringing in Pastor Bishop, and continuing with the conversations where Colorado Springs now has full and complete ownership of that annual federal holiday and that day on, not the day off, of coming together to say, hey, we are a community, we are one, and we are united.
Thanks. I will just mention, I think a lot of folks in Colorado Springs are still learning that we actually have a march on that day. And this year, I was glad to see that the news covered it. They didn't just cover the march up in Denver or the one in Pueblo, but they did cover it here because it's been going for a long time. And kudos to you guys for continuing to make that happen. And
Yes, thank
the
you.
breakfast and the conversation that happens before the march even occurs is also really wonderful. So for people who haven't ever participated, mark your calendar and think about it for next year. Questions or comments for Kimber and the Pikes Peak Diversity Council?
Hi, I'm Marilyn Massey, and I'd like to know if you do you work directly with the individuals, or do you work with contractors, I guess, to deliver whatever the message? In other words, do you interact with contractors like we do?
So we work both. So we reach out to community sponsors, donors, and things like that on both an organizational level as well as an individual level. And what we're trying to do is bring up our community who has a host of brilliant speakers, who have a host of resources that we can make available here in the Pikes Peak region. So we do work with individuals to bring forth the message that speaks to Colorado Springs, that speaks to Whitefield, that speak to security. We're not looking just at national speakers, we're looking for local speakers and local heroes to help us keep that day going.
Thank you. That's a great plan.
I have a question. I'm Debbie here, and I just want to know if you're doing anything with the various school districts in the area.
Yes, my friend, thank you for that question. So a few years ago, we implemented bringing in a District 11 drum line. This year, we worked with I believe it was District 49 to bring in the drum line. We're also looking at bringing in youth speakers. As you saw, the young man if you saw the All People's Breakfast, you saw a young man as one of the African American Youth Leadership Conference members who is a local high schooler here in Colorado Springs. And so we do want to bring in our youth because our youth always carry forward our legacies for us. And so for this work to continue, we definitely need to reach out to those the school districts here. We're working with Pikes Peak Library District as well. And I don't know if you know Shirley Martinez. She is with PPLD and she's also on the school board, one of the local school boards. And so we're definitely bringing in more of our youth to continue the legacy of Pikes Peak Diversity Council and the MLK programming.
You are busy people. That's terrific.
Go ahead, Maria.
Hey, Kimberly, this is Maria. I have one more question. How do we find out about upcoming events? What's the best way to find out what's coming up?
Thank you, Maria. So you can go to our website, which is the Pikes Peak Diversity Council at Gmail, excuse me, Pikes Peak Diversity Council. Do a Google search for that. I didn't bring up our full website, and you'll find all of our events there on our website, or you can email us at the Pikes Peak Diversity Council at gmail.com, and we will respond back with what's going on.
Hi, this is Jill Ruth. I'm wondering what you have planned for, or what you're thinking about challenges for the next year. What would you like to do? How can we help?
Challenges for the next year. I think, Joe Ruth, one of the things that was mentioned earlier by Melissa was that we do have our own local march that we do here in Colorado Springs, but the word has not really carried out very far through the community. And so we are looking, when I say sponsorship, please don't think I'm asking for money. I'm asking for people that will collaborate with me in getting the word out that we are here on behalf of them and that our events are for this region. Our events are for the community and the citizens here in the Pikes Peak region. You don't have to drive to the Mile High City. You have us here. And so if we can get word of mouth out that Pikes Peak Diversity Council does exist, that the Pikes Peak Justice and Peace Commission does exist, that all of these different anchors to the community do exist to help keep us communicating and united. That is how you can help us throughout the year and not just at the top of the year for MLK.
Terrific. Thank you so much, because when we know what we can do, then we can get our feet under it and go for it. So thank you.
Definitely. Thank you for the question.
Anyone else? Does anyone online want to ask a question? Well, it looks like you have covered your subject thoroughly. So thank you for joining us today, and we appreciate the information you brought us. And I understand what Maria was saying about knowing where the events are. And I think you're in the situation where we're at is a lot of people don't know about us. And so going forward, we will look forward to learning some of your committee meetings and participate in your projects.
Definitely. We'll keep you all in mind as we get our programs going throughout the year. Don't forget to look for us online, but I will also look for you.
Okay. Together we work better.
Yes.
It's the synergy thing. Anyway, we will move forward now with some dates. I didn't give these dates out, and I should have. The TRS subcommittee dates meeting is February 1st. And then the final RAC review is April. This is kind of exciting, really. We're going to, I like to think of it when we have this money, I think of it as a person. because every dollar in that means a meal for somebody or whatever. And so I've been on the technical review committee for probably 7 years on and off. And I did it because I wanted to understand. And so if any of you are asking questions, well, here, come aboard next year. Well, wait a minute. Next year it's a 2-year contract, right? So I guess we won't do it next year. But I really appreciate all of you that are participating in this and for your enthusiasm, your follow through, and the fact that you really believe in what you're doing. And I think that in itself is magnificent. So please know that we care about you. As far as a chair report, you just heard it. And the next meeting is February 22nd. And that's here in the same room. And we will see you then. Meeting is adjourned.